Hi guys, Reverend Crystal Cox here, and something kind of funny, not so funny, but kind of funny. I had someone ask me the other day, so what, are you a preacher now? And it's kind of interesting because I've been told I was a preacher my whole life. A lot of people close to me for the last, 20 years at least, have said, I don't need a guru, or people will seek me out because they do need a guru, or they'll just call me up and ask me questions about alternative medicine, or all kinds of different religions, or visions they've had, or dreams they have, or how they can be more intuitive, or if they can develop their psychic ability, or, all kinds of questions about their life and their spirituality and their health. And this has really been decades for me. I'd pull over and pick up a hitchhiker, and then I just start talking to them about something in their life. I never really considered myself a psychic. I just felt like a tool of spirit, a tool of God, goddess. And when I was young, I didn't use the terminology goddess, really, or spirit. I just felt like I was being led. Like voices in my head sort of deal. I just really felt strong. I didn't really hear like a voice outside of my head. I didn't really see a vision. I just felt like it was like a thought in my own mind. And I knew I need to pick the person up, and then I would talk to him about something, and quite often I'd end up getting something in my car or something out of my trunk, and I'd give it to him. Like this one person, I knew they really wanted to write, and I knew they were traveling and what they were going through, and I had just bought this little recorder, and so I just gave it to them in brand new batteries so they could record their trip. And of course there's the safety factor of it, but I just always knew, and I've always been led to where there's someone that needs to hear something from me. And ironically, at the same time, I end up getting led to places where, I get messages. So it's been kind of interesting, but that's been my whole life. And even like recently, when I went to Kauai for like 4 months, and I just wandered around, and I would meet people, and I would just know things they needed to hear. And most of the time, people are very receptive, and they're just wowed. And, and it's not, I try to be, as humble as possible. It's not about me. I don't know what I'm saying before I say it. I just feel like in this in the pit of my stomach, like I really, really need to say this to them. And if I don't, I'm going to regret it. Like almost like this sadness, like somebody's died if I think about walking away and not saying it. Like they just really need to hear it. This one couple I met out in the water. I was neck deep in the water and just kind of swimming around. And I just started talking to them. And this amazing stuff just came out. And then I told them about starting a church and stuff, and the guy said, well, you definitely need a pulpit somewhere. And I just give him all kinds of information about some spiritual work he was doing and things I saw, just business all across the board. And about an hour later, he sought me out on the beach and sat with me and asked me a whole bunch more questions. And it was just a really cool and validating experience. And for me personally, I get so excited. It's like a kid at Christmas is all I can akin it to, is because I just get I vibrate really high, my hands feel really warm, I get really giddy and excited when Spirit's moving through me, when I'm telling something to somebody that I know that Spirit wants me to tell them. And it's quite often it's sad because it's rejected in a way of like the people don't feel like that's quite right for them. But even those, it ends up months later or sometimes even years later or even a decade later in some cases where people are like, you were right. And I'm like, well, thank you for that, but I wasn't the one giving you the message. Your spiritual guides, Spirit, God was giving you this message, and apparently you digested it when you actually needed to hear it. So I'm just a tool, and I make myself available. And I've actually said prayers, even in my teenage years, that I was available to answer prayers of, I know it's almost like a Hallmark movie or something where people will pray to God or talk to their angels, and I'm available. So if I'm in the vicinity where I can help anybody that's prayed or asked angels or asked Spirit for help, if there's anything I can do, I make myself available like that. So I'm on call for God. And I've been that way my entire life. So when people say, are you a preacher now? And kind of make fun of me calling myself Reverend Crystal Cox. I chose Reverend because I like priestess, but Reverend seems strong, and there's Reverend Mother. That's a lot of women that use that term, and I just think that it sounds strong, and I like it. It feels good to me, and so that's kind of what I'm going with. And I feel like in this society, you kind of need a label. Everybody's got their job and something they do, and I feel like this is my work and this is my job, and so I call myself Reverend. And I know that people laugh at me and they say it to me derogatory in the way of, what are you, a preacher now, whatever. But people that have known me my whole life, or even these strangers, if I crossed over right now and I had to review it all, I would think there would be a large amount of people my entire life. Even my mom tells me when I was a baby at the store, trying to get people's attention and make them smile and be dedicated at getting their attention so that I could make them smile. And it's kind of been my whole life. And I've been I'm empathic, but I've met some people who are way more of an empath than me. I'm more like experience emotions heavily. I'm here in this lifetime, I know, in a big way to learn about emotions. They kind of derail me and control me at times, and I'm really trying to master that. And so I'm kind of like, I can only liken it to the contractor that never finishes their own house. I know a lot of stuff about a lot, and I love guiding people in alternative medicine and spiritual things and really making people's lives better and helping to lead them in a good direction, whether they go that way or not. I love that energy coming through me, but I also seek that out in people that are like me, and then I try to make my life better. And I stumble and I fall, and I do better. I stumble and I fall. I have some things I've been working on, since I first recognized them, 30 years ago, and I'm still struggling with those same issues. And so I am not preaching to say, I know best and I'm better than you. I'm preaching to people and being this guru or this guide because I know this stuff. Spirit moves through me. I'm a big reader. I've been a big reader my whole life. My mom used to call me a big reader when I was a kid. And I just love reading. I love digesting information and studying. And I like to regurgitate that when people need to hear that. Quite often people don't want to hear it. So it's like for me to get into a platform of where I'm around the people that want to hear it, or doing things on the internet where they find me when they need me or want me or when Spirit leads them to me. I have people that seek me out now, and I do give spiritual counseling to people, and they come to me for that. And so that's kind of a better way to do it, because when you're just sitting down in a social setting, it's just really hard for me, and people ask me a question, and I have great depth on anything. And it doesn't mean that I'm smart or that I think I'm all that. It just means I got a lot of knowledge and a lot to share. And I think, I don't know the exact quote, but it's some Anais Nin quote about I must be a mermaid because I fear shallow and I love depth or whatever. So that's kind of how I am. So yes, I am a preacher now, but I've been a preacher my whole life, and I'm not even sure how to define preacher in that. Or, like I said, several people in my adult life have said, I don't need a guru. But, years later, they usually end up seeking me out and saying, hey, what's your thought on this or what's your thought on that? And I do it too. It's nice to seek someone out that is intuitive, or that you might feel is psychic, or that has a direct line to your spiritual guides and can help validate what you're going through and give you support. And I seek that out myself a lot. I really do believe in that realm. So I guess if I had to say yes or no, I'd say, yeah, I'm a preacher now, but I've always been a preacher, and I've always been a minister. I've always been spreading the good news, and the good news is that you can heal your body with herbs. You don't have to go to Western medicine. The good news is that you can have a relationship with God, Goddess, Spirit, angels, archangels, and you don't need a religious organization to do that. Your relationship with Spirit is between you and Spirit. The good news is that there's a lot of beautiful things here on earth, and there's a reason to stay here and to live through it and to get to graduation. And it's really hard to explain, but I want to empower people to, have a natural death, versus suicide, because it can be very, very hard here on this planet. And so I have dedicated my life to this, and my entire life. Even the anti-corruption blogging stuff that I've done has been completely spiritually driven to me. Yes, I curse. Yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, and in Wiccan, and in Buddhist, and I'm very much into Native American stuff, and shaman stuff, and just all kinds of different spiritual modalities. So I am definitely a non-denominational preacher across the board, and I am available to give spiritual advice to those that are called to me, or those that I feel like I am aligned with to do so. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day or evening whenever you're listening to this, and Goddess bless you all. Bye-bye.